Yeah, I was particularly interested in the oil sands what range of alternatives. It goes from 431,000 plus acres, which was last administration's number. Now it's down to 2,100 as one of the alternatives. That's less than 1%. That seems way too broad of an alternative. I know they all have to be looked at, but that's way too broad. We have a lot of geologists who come in and talk to us. We have a lot of petroleum engineers who come in and talk to us. We have companies who come in and talk to us on a regular basis. We know that they have processes that work, and these processes work with very little water, if any, and they are processes that are working, and they're currently working in research and development processes now. It seems a shame when you get so many people together that there isn't a time for people to share back and forth their ideas. And when meetings are set up and they're called public meetings, but really all you're doing is talking as an individual to an individual next to a poster, there's no public comment that's really given that other people get to hear, or that you get to hear their thoughts, and a discussion ensue from that. And so meetings should be, when they're called public meetings, they should be public.
I was interested. I saw this in the paper, and actually I was gone for the weekend, so I didn't see it, so I was a little bit late because I didn't get a chance to get here exactly on time. I got here about a quarter after. But the comments that I did hear disturbed me a little bit, and especially the one where the gentleman was referring to the failures that they had in Colorado, and it appeared to me like that was going to be a template for what they were going to use for their administrative processes in the decision making here in Utah. And I think that's totally, absolutely wrong. I think that they ought to be looking at new developments, new technologies, and looking at everything on a case-by-case basis. The other thing is that I think is terribly wrong is the fact that they're using water as an excuse for not using for doing oil shale, for two main reasons. One is, if this company should have the right to use water, just as oil and gas companies have the right to use water in fracking or anything else. They have the right to use it just like any other industry. The other thing is if they say that they don't use very much water, so put a stipulation on them. They say that they're going to do it in a systematic way. If they don't do it, then you can shut them down, but give them the opportunity to do it and to fail, not to shut them down from development. Preemptively.
Okay.
Well, not only that, but Iowa Tank Line's facility is actually taking water in, conditioning it, and then taking it out the backside and not even having to evaporate. That's where it should go. They should be using water as a resource, putting it in, conditioning it, and then taking it out the backside, using it for fracking and drilling and whatever they can use. I've always thought that. I've always thought that they should do that, and I am involved in that field as well in another facility north of Duchesne. And so, yes, I think that. But I think that the oil shale people should have the opportunity to use water. I don't think they'll use a great deal of it. I know Laura Nelson. I know her company. We had them at our American Petroleum Institute functions. I'm the program chairman for the American Petroleum Institute in the basin. And we welcome dissenting people and people to come and to talk to us. I was expecting that they would put chairs out, have a question and answer, be able to have some public comment. That's the reason that I came today. I wasn't disappointed that I could learn a little bit, but the one thing that I thought was incredibly terrible, I don't know if terrible is the right word, is that on the oil sands, they had their 4 alternatives, and one of them was less than 1% of the original oil sand development that was under the Bush era. Less than 1%. And she says, well, we've got to look at everything. And the reason that they did that is because of a lawsuit by environmental groups. So they wanted to settle the lawsuit, so that why don't they fight about it? Why don't they take public comment and allow people to develop? Is it better for our sons and daughters and husbands and wives to be killed over in Iraq and Afghanistan to protect eastern oil fields over there, or is it better to develop our own here, have jobs and opportunities? I think it's immoral.
Not to mention, reverse the trade deficit we have with the whole world.
Yeah, and the last instance that really brought this to mind was the Keystone Pipeline. That's ridiculous. We need to embrace Canada as the best partner that we have for energy development. They've done a great job. They're continuing to do a good job. We need to develop ours in combination with theirs, and we need to be pragmatic. I'll tell you one other thing. When I was a geologist in 1980, I was working for Gulf Oil, and there was a journal called the Oil and Gas Journal. In that 1980 issue, and I wish I'd have kept it, this is after the 73 and 79 embargo. In 1980, they did a poll, and 1/3 of the country that they polled did not realize that we imported oil. That's the problem. It's terrible ignorance. People think that gasoline comes from the 7-Eleven gas pump, and then they think that milk comes from a cooler. They have no idea of what it takes to develop from inception to marketing to get it into your tank, a gallon of gasoline or diesel. That's a problem.
But it concerns me that we're locking up so much at such a critical time in our economy, that we're locking up so much resource. And it's, again, it's immoral, I think. We're using food that people in this world could be eating to make fuel, yet we won't take it where we have it. And it's just, people have got to get used to the fact that it takes something to live. You know, I've always said that one of our biggest problems in this country is people refuse to accept or have no knowledge of the reality of the nature of their existence. They ain't got a clue what it takes to live. And it don't come from, it's not like manna, you know, it's.
We can't all live on beeswax.
That's right. And you know, when you travel across country, I just come back from South Dakota, you know, and I'm looking at ethanol plants all over there. And then you talk about what that did to the food prices when that all came out. Where's our morality here? And we did an RMP. A lot of people say we worked 9 years. We did not work 9 years on that thing. We worked about 13, 14 years on that to try to come up with a plan for here. They pulled oil shale out the side. I don't even believe, and the one thing I'm going to be looking at is, does this plan follow the RMP? Decisions made after years of investigation, decisions made about the allocation of these resources. And it's not equally applied to the 3 states either. I mean, there's no equity here. And the a lot of the comments made in here that disturbed me too is the fact that we don't know. Well, if you don't know, you shouldn't be locking up land for 20, 30, 40 years, because this will never get reversed. That's why I'd like to see something in there that says 5, 7 years. We'll take another look at it. Let's see what the development or test, our research projects are doing. I mean, this is not a totally new resource, and especially when you deal in the tar sands. There's a country north of us that got a considerable amount of expertise in that. It's not new, and it's just it's not right that you can just take this short a deal and have it challenged, and now we got a new document out that resembles the other one, only with different findings.
Well, this is another case of the federal government wasting the taxpayers' dollars, which is what they seem to do best. We had a perfectly fine environmental impact statement on oil shale and tar sands back in 2008, and because of the environmental community and the Obama administration pandering to that community. Here we are taking another look at it, and supposedly it's a fresh look, but from reading the new document, there's not a lot new in it. All that's new is that they're reducing the acreage down from 2 million acres of land for commercial oil shale and tar sands development down to 431,000 acres, which is crazy given our prices of energy in the country, and that's going to ultimately lead to the Obama administration's downfall if they keep doing this kind of stuff. Well, I haven't had time to read the whole 100-pound document yet, but from what I've read, it's nowhere near a fresh look. If it was a fresh look, they would be talking to companies like Red Leaf Resources that have this technology that they're going to put to use on Sitla or private lands out in Uinta County. They would talk to Enefit from Estonia to find out about their technology. We, as a cooperating agency, we made reference to those technologies and those companies. And in this document, there's only a token reference to that. Well, in the first, as a cooperating agency, we had a chance to comment on this document last fall, and they pretty much ignored all of our comments. In fact, they even went on to say in the document that they had no comments from Duchesne County. Well, I called them up on that and said, well, wait a minute, I submitted pages and pages of comments. And oh, we forgot. And so now in the errata tonight, they did recognize that we had submitted a lot of comments. But the problem is they just don't listen. They're listening to the environmental community. They're not listening to the people out here in the affected areas.
I've always been concerned with the energy situation here in Uinta County. As far as I'm concerned, the Uinta County has a birthright at the southern end of Uinta County called Book Cliffs. In any way that we possibly can keep that and keep it producing, it'll keep Uinta County in energy and also in work, and probably some of the best paying jobs there is in the state of Utah. The other thing that I would like to make a comment about is I don't quite understand. Congress makes judgment calls, goes through the process, and they allowed 2 million acres to be used as an R&D between Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming. And I don't understand why that has to be split up, reduced down at all. There shouldn't be any alternatives onto that right now. It's not a study there. It's an R&D. And as far as I'm concerned, Congress made that comment, set it aside for R&D, and it should be used for R&D, and it should not be used for political purposes. And it needs to be kept that way. But we should be a producing county. I guess that's all I have.
Well, there wouldn't have been enough time to say everything that I would like to have said. But I do have a lot of concerns with this PEIS that's being proposed, because it's going to reduce by 75% the lands available in Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado for oil shale development. You look at the high price of gas and the energy needs we have. We've got a tremendous opportunity right here to be able to solve those issues with nearly 2 to 3 trillion barrels of oil and oil shale, and we want to reduce that by 75%. And why? And so, first of all, we were looking for an alternative that would actually expand oil shale development, where in this case they're going to reduce it by 75%. So that's one of the issues, just simply the fact that we think the alternatives were not broad enough. All alternatives are for a reduction. There should have been an alternative that would have allowed for additional production. And so that's one of the issues we have. I think consistency with state and local plans is a problem here. The counties in Utah and Wyoming, state Utah, and also I believe in Wyoming, expressed a desire to have the no action alternative. We did not even have that as an opportunity. That was rejected apparently at the Washington level. So, you know, we're concerned about that, there was not meaningful input as cooperators in developing that alternative. So, you know, there are a number of issues there that we're concerned about. See, I don't think it's technology decisions that made them revisit this. In fact, if they were using the technology decisions, we have much better technology today. You know, the people that oppose oil shale, they continue to give misinformation. They try to purport that it takes all this water to produce oil from oil shale, where, you know, the newer technologies of several of the companies, it really requires no water to produce oil from oil shale. Now at the refinery, and, you know, for dust control, there's going to need to be a little water that's going to need to be utilized, as you will with any oil production. But, you know, they continue to purport a lot of misinformation as these advocates to oil shale, or not advocates, but the people that are opposing oil shale continue to just spew misinformation.